I was gonna say, what do you think would cons be at the 5.0 level?
Oh man, much more difficult resetting and dinking.
Yeah,
Floating more balls.
that's what he said. At least at like the 4.0 and below level, because I mean, at that point, the control is just like there's no way.
Yeah, you're getting murdered. Like even me with the mod, I couldn't reset the ball. I couldn't reset the ball with the Paddletek.
Yeah.
Like my hands are not soft enough to.
But I mean, I do think there's pros at the 5.0 level.
Oh,
because I wrote it here down from like a viewership standpoint.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like, there's a reason why people love watching women's doubles more than men's doubles. Men's extended dink rallies, but the women, I mean, they're pulling the trigger after like 2 or 3 dinks.
Well, but the thing is, even with the power paddles, the women are not strong enough to just put the ball away. In the men's game, it's like 2 or 3 and the ball's put away normally.
It's a bit more cautious because, again, of the power.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm going to introduce and then we'll talk.
Yeah, okay, let's run it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Pickle Pulse. I am your host, Brian Green, and with me, as always, my co-host, Ryan Lopez. What's up, my dude?
Nothing much. Woke up here in the basement, ready to go.
He is not living with me.
I swear I live here. No, whoa. I'm lying to the people.
That is not good. Oh, man. So, good week overall, though?
Very good week. A lot of pickleball. Weather's getting cooler. The jackets are starting to get out.
I love it.
I know.
It's the best time of year for clothing. You know that's what I do for a living during the day.
Yeah.
It's like I make custom tailored clothing for people, make them look really good, style them out, whether it be casual or formal. And this is the time of year where it's just fun to dress people.
You gonna make pickleball clothing or what?
Oh, no. I'll leave that to Stack Athletic and Lululemon and those peeps.
Where's our sponsorship? Come on.
I know.
You hear that?
I'm scratching the Stack out of there twice now.
Oh,
they don't pay me. They pay the other pods.
No. We're not there yet.
No. So, number 1, we aren't there yet. And if you're tuning in and you're loving this, well, gee golly darn, why don't you hit that subscribe button? Or maybe I cut that out because that's really bad. I don't know. I noticed I was swinging my arm like this, and I felt like that old gee golly guy. So let's just go with it. So we are a growing channel, and today I want to talk to you about something that I don't want to say is near and dear to my heart, but something that has been troubling me for 3-4 weeks now. And I'll tell you, it started with the introduction of the Ronbus Ripple. All right. So are power paddles killing the game of pickleball? That is my question to you. Are they ruining the game of pickleball? Is that a bad way to put it? Right?
Yes.
Okay, because I will say that I've had moments where a power paddle has ruined my good time.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean I need to just get better? Does that mean they need to rein the power back in? What does it mean? And also, guys, if you don't know paddles up and down and left and right, I just want to break down a couple of the paddles that you should be looking for if you want a power paddle, or you should be looking for if the guy across the net is playing, then you need to learn to dodge the ball, dodge the wrench. You got to get out of the way.
Paddles to avoid in open play.
That is exactly right.
So if you're using a paddle rack system and you see this paddle on the rack, you go to the next spot.
Especially if you've watched the guy and he's not good. And we'll talk about that in a moment.
I hope you have good insurance.
So the first paddle that I'm going to talk about is the Gearbox Power Pro. It started all of this mess. All right. It's been out for, what would you say, about a year?
Yeah, about a year. Yeah. No, I think no more than a year and a half.
So Gearbox created this foam core paddle. They actually, when they cut it open, found out it has rubber bands inside as well, which is why the ball just comes trampolining off of this paddle. It is super hot. And if you can learn to control it, can be quite the weapon.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when Chris Hayworth played Ben Johns and beat him early on in his career, he was using that Gearbox paddle at that indoor championship, and he was ripping the ball.
Yeah.
Now he plays with the Babolat's. I think they hit not as hard, but man, that dude can hit the ball hard.
He's with Babolat now?
Yeah.
They must have paid him a fortune.
Oh, yeah.
To
they
drop
definitely
Gearbox
did.
and use that thing.
But the paddles are good. They actually came out with some decent paddles. And they used to have the Babolat Monster back in like 2020, 2021.
That's what my friend was using at the time.
Yeah, that black and yellow one. It's a cool
And then I
paddle.
realized, I was like, this thing is garbage.
Yeah. Compared to modern paddles, I would say so. All right. So that's your Gearbox. The next one I want to talk about is the Ripple. This is a new paddle out by Ronbus. I don't even know if it's available to everyone in the public, but I have encountered them over the past couple of weeks again and again from hard-hitting guys here in the area. I've talked about them. This paddle is ferocious. I mean, it hits nearly as hard as the Gearbox, but I think gives you the ability to put more spin on the ball because of how it's put together. I mean, it's roping over the net. So the Ripple, if you see that paddle, if they're good, maybe it'll be fun to play with them, but if they're not, you might want to just put your paddle on another rack.
Yeah, exactly. It's not worth it. Just don't do it.
No, it hits really, really hard. The other paddle I want to talk about, which is the Paddletek Bantam, the TKO-C. Christian Alshon's playing with it. There is a 12.7 and a 14.3. Yeah. And both are really hot. I've only hit the 14.3. I can't imagine what the 12.7 feels
I think
like.
Alshon uses the 12.7.
He does.
Personally.
He absolutely does.
And that is insane to think about.
Yeah.
A player of that caliber and like ball striking ability using a 12 millimeter paddle.
Ryan, I don't even like playing 5.5s, let alone a 7.0 with a 12 millimeter paddle. Right. I mean, it's like, I'm just not there. And I don't know if the game of pickleball is there. Maybe it is, and I'm wrong, and I'm the old fogey. Right. I'm sure in the comments people are going to tell me
it's
what
not
they
enough
really
court
think.
space.
Yeah, it's insane. The last one that I want to talk about in here is the mod, the Joola Mod TA-15. It is essentially their Gen 3 paddle. It has a a propulsion core technology, which basically means fancy. A trampoline.
Right.
It gives the trampoline effect to the ball, and it comes off super hot. So tell me a little bit about your feelings towards these paddles. I would say take it personally, and then maybe towards the overall aspect of the game of pickleball.
Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of some of these paddles. Maybe, like, I guess in a single standpoint, sure, right? Because you're playing singles. I mean, like, I've used, the Paddletek TKO in singles, and I can rope it in singles.
Yeah.
That is a very, very good paddle. I get it. But for something like doubles, maybe not too much the Paddletek, but at least the mod, I mean, it's just like an absolute cheat code. Like, people are hardly taking swings, and that thing is just coming off the face, so fast.
I'm going to tell you about an experience real quick.
It's just, I don't know how I feel. It's just, I have mixed feelings. In singles, I'm like, I would probably use this paddle in singles.
Yeah, and I think that's a very valid point that I didn't even think about before I came into this, but the difference between singles and doubles, because I actually do use the Paddletek TKO-C for my singles. Yeah. I just can't play doubles with it.
Yeah, same.
But if I'm playing baseline pickleball, that's a paddle I want in my hand.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. So I have a story that I played with a guy this week. Not going to name any names, not going to say any days, don't want to. This guy's probably slightly above a 4.0.
Okay.
He's like you, Ryan.
Oh, fantastic. Just a mid pickleball player.
All right. So I see how he's playing, and I'm like, man, okay, I don't really want to play with this guy. There's nobody around, so I'm going to go play a game.
That's how you feel.
Well, I mean, I'm just telling you, it really is. Like, it came down to I was looking for really good games.
Yeah.
Training up for something that, actually, I haven't even announced that yet. It's so bad. I'm so bad at this job. So long story short, this guy's got a mod, okay?
Okay.
And first serve of the match, he hits the ball so hard and so deep at me that I barely get it back. I chip it over the net, super short, and his backhand, he barely moves and it comes off like a rocket ship. And I'm like, whoa, okay, this guy's not that good.
Yeah.
He's not that good, Ryan. All right, next shot, same thing, rocket serve, and then rocket third, and all of a sudden, we're down like 0-3, and we're the better team by probably a full duper point, easily. And this is just my experience with this paddle is that, number one, it's unfair unless everyone is playing with that level of paddle.
Yeah.
But learning to play with that level of paddle also takes time. And I don't personally think that equipment should get so good that it takes a lower levels player's ability to beat a higher level player.
Yes, and I agree.
I would like for the skill of the individual player to come through.
Exactly.
And so that was kind of my experience with the mod, and I've played it with a couple other guys, and you know, that really gets to the pros and cons of these power paddles. Before we even get into like whether we like it or we hate it, tell me a little bit about, like, if you're a 4-0 player, what would be the pros of getting a power paddle? Why would you want to do that?
I would say if you're at the 4-0 level, I guess the pros to getting, you know, a power paddle could be like, you know, maybe your drive is just, you know, isn't good. You know, maybe your drives just, you know, aren't as penetrating, you know, every time you drive the ball. Maybe it's just like at someone's shoulder height and they're just, you know, cranking down on it every single time. You know, that could be a reason why you get a power paddle. You know, you just don't have the power to keep up with some of these other players, you know, which I totally get. I've come across people like that, you know, where it's just like, okay, the control game is there, the soft game is there, but they just can't put a ball away to save their life. You know, I get it. You might want something that's a little bit hot just to keep up, you know, with other competition.
I like that take.
Right?
Yeah. So if you need put away power, and or if you just want a little extra hotness to your drive. Now the counter to that would be, can you keep it on the court?
Exactly. Can you keep it down?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's tough, you know, but for players like, you know, myself, you know, like, not to toot my own horn, but I mean, like, from like a natural, just pure power standpoint, like pound for pound, you know, I can probably hit it just as hard as, you know, anyone in the area.
Okay.
Yeah. If that's all we're talking, I might not be able to hit it as consistently, be able to keep it up over the course of an entire game. But if we're just going pound for pound, forehands at the baseline, you give me an overhead, like, I will crank this thing for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to rip it. Absolutely. You know, I'm not going to use it.
No.
Personally.
Okay.
I mean, I used the Hyperion Gen 3. I was probably swinging at like 50, no more than 75%. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And those aren't even as hot as the mod.
It's insane.
The 3S's are slightly.
Yeah. I noticed it on my first game. I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
like, this is like me swinging 100% at the paddle at the time. The paddle at the time, I was using a Vatic Pro Prism Flash.
Okay.
But I was just like, this is nuts. Like, I'm not even swinging at full speed and it's coming off like this. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything above the shoulder was done. The point was done. Like no one was getting it back.
And therein is one of my issues with the whole thing. So we've given the pros of why someone want to do it. I think the cons of why a 4-0 or less would not want to play with a power paddle is the learning curve of it.
Yeah.
So I've noticed in the 4-0 game that, or under 4-0, it's a lot of driving. Not hardly any drops and or dinks. And the ball is floating high, right?
Yeah.
So it would be cool to just put those balls away if you're there.
Yeah, of course.
But the question is, can you get there if you have one of those power paddles where the ball's flying out?
Yeah.
And, you know, you're hitting it in the net because you're trying to hit it too hard but low. And then also a reset. Now, I don't think at 4-0 you're resetting as much as you would at a 5-0 plus.
No, I mean, I think 4-0 and below, if you are resetting, it gets lucky.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
That's fair.
Like 4-0 and below, like basically your entire strategy is to just plow through your opponent.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you're just trying to push them off the court as much as possible. Like, that's literally it. You're just driving. Third, fifth, seventh, whatever ball it is.
And then the question that I would have for the individual who came to me and said, hey, should I get a power paddle?
Yeah.
Is what kind of game do you want to play?
Exactly.
And so do you like to get on the court and try to plow through people with the ball and end the point as fast as possible?
Yeah.
Because if that's your style, I think a power paddle might fit it.
Yeah.
Right. But if you want longer points, if you want to learn strategy and you want to get to that next level, I feel like you have to learn the soft game first. And it's really tough to do with the power paddle.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, the thing with the power paddle too is like, it's like an ego thing, you know? You win a couple games at the power paddle, there's no reason for me to drop or dink, right? There's no reason for me to play soft. I'm just going to keep, swinging away.
Absolutely. Well, and that goes to my next point. The swinging away is, if you're 4-0 or less, how many eyes are you going to take out with that thing? And or your eyes. So hopefully people are putting glasses on.
Yeah.
If this is kind of the new regulation. So I know that for 2024, The UPA has approved the 3S Joola's. That's the only organization that has that paddle approved.
Yeah.
And people are still buying them like hotcakes, Ryan.
I don't know why.
I don't either. You can't even play in a tournament with it other than a PPA.
I was so honest about it too. I was like, unless you're in the PPA or MOP, this paddle is useless for you.
Completely. And I know a couple of people who have bought them, and I asked why, and they go, well, I hope next year they'll be approved.
Yeah.
No, they're not. No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Exactly. Like if you're just doing rec play and you just have no interest in playing tournaments, all right, fine.
Go nuts. Yeah, but people are still going to judge you. You're using an illegal paddle. You may as well get like a super foam core psycho paddle because illegal is illegal. So that is kind of my take on those power paddles.
Yeah.
Is that hard to control? You can blast through people, but is that really the kind of game that you want to play?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you're going to get invited to any groups.
Yeah.
That's another thing too, from a social standpoint.
Oh, that is true.
A lot of people, they're just going to be like, I don't like playing with this guy. He's just a banger, blah, 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 blah. No one ever says anything about the people that dink and reset.
No.
I'll tell you that right now.
That is true.
Oh, I don't like playing with Brian. He just dinks and resets all day. This guy's an asshole.
Yeah, no one has ever said that about me.
No one has
either.
ever said that. Literally, no one's ever said that. But people do say that about bangers, though.
They do.
It's like, I don't want to play with this guy. No, he's just a banger.
Yeah.
Or people are prepping for tournaments. It's like, it's not really good practice. Literally, it's just going to be blocking all day.
Although that's what I really need to practice more so than anything.
Okay, well, if it's just blocking, then yeah, sure, invite this guy out. But a crazy story, man. Like I was playing singles with one of my friends at the club, and he was using a Gen 3, and like very, very good, tennis player. He played Division 1, Division 1 college tennis.
Okay.
And he was smoking me in singles with this Gen 3 Perseus.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm just curious. I was like, I know you have, a Hyperion in the bag. I want to see how we play, without your Gen 3 paddle.
Oh, that's a great story.
Took that out, and I beat him with it.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So you took the 3S and he grabbed the old Perseus?
No. He just he was using like his old, I think it's like Gen 2 paddle or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was using his old Hyperion. So he played me with that, and I was using my Volair, 14 millimeter Mach 1.
And you beat him.
And I beat him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
After he was smoking with you with
I
the Gen
was
3?
getting murdered with that thing. The amount of winners he was hitting, I literally couldn't get my paddle on it. I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Like he's killing me from like all angles of the court. He's like literally on the dead sprint, and he's passing me like every single time. And I was like, okay, yeah, we're switching paddles. I'm just curious. I'm just, that's it. I'm just curious.
Interesting. All right. So that goes into the pros. So at the high level, at the 5.0 plus, a lot of people are playing with power paddles now. Why? Why do you think that is?
I think it definitely helps with counters.
Yeah.
Counters and speed ups. You get that first ball back on a counter, it makes a huge difference.
It does. It really does.
The game is the game is speeding up in general too. You have a lot of people doing, just shake and bakes, a lot of, back-to-back drives, but the game is just getting faster.
Yeah.
You have a lot of these tennis athletes going into the game with just insane ball striking ability. So you give them a Gen 3 paddle with that type of power, like it's going to be nuts. Your ability to block has to be surgical at that point.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
How hard these pros are hitting the ball and still getting the ball back over. I would say the con to it would be the shorter point length and, not as long of a rally, but I still think the average rally is way over 15 hits for a pro. And even with these, super fast paddles, they're still dropping and dinking very effectively, but you're exactly right. If you can control a power paddle at a super high level, your counters, people are much more scared to speed up.
Exactly. They're going to be a bit more cautious about, speeding the ball up at you because that counter is going to come back, so fast. So if you do intend to speed up, you better have a shot in mind ready to go because more than likely that ball's coming back,
this is
real fast.
Situations that I've had in games over the past couple of weeks where the ball's floated high, but it's to my backhand, and I just know that I can't get enough oomph on this ball, no matter where it is, to really put the person in front of me off balance. Maybe it's like Danny Pune. His hands are really good, and he's getting stronger and stronger. But so like hit the ball at this guy, and it's coming back harder at me than I hit it at him, and then all of a sudden I'm in a bad position.
Yeah.
So you have to be very thoughtful about when you're going to speed up
Exactly.
and why you're going to speed up. 2 years ago when you first started getting the grit into the game, because of the extra spin, you could speed up almost off your shoelaces.
Yeah.
That is not so much the case with these power paddles anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think if you do dumb speed ups, you pay the price.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was going to say too, I guess, what's your opinion on these paddles from like a viewership standpoint? Does it help the growth of pickleball from like a TV standpoint?
I think that's an interesting question. I don't think the paddles are going to make or break the viewership. Viewership wants an entertaining game, which the power paddles bring for sure in the singles world.
That's what I was thinking.
And then the other thing that is it's a thought is, should we keep more powerful paddles for singles and pickleball and then have a different regulation for doubles? That could be interesting.
Yeah.
And then maybe raise the spin. I know Zane has talked about that, and some of the other guys, John Q, some of the other big paddle review guys, about raising the spin but lowering the power. That could be very interesting as well. But I guess my final take on viewership is, you need personalities for viewership.
Yeah.
To have like a Netflix behind the scenes type of TV show where you could really get to know the pros, and or like think about who are the most popular pros right now, the Tyson McGuffins of the world.
He has his own thing, doesn't he?
Oh, he's got so much social media out there.
Yeah.
And he's that big personality.
Yeah.
He's got every country boy in around. Anyone with a mullet is a Tyson McGuffin fan.
You saw the new Skechers they released, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
That's a cool commercial,
Man.
It was like at a bar, and the bar lady like pushed like a box of Skechers across the bar table. I was like, that's sick.
Yeah.
Well, like they did it good. They did. Yeah, that's it right there.
I think his other sponsorships like Miller Lite or something.
It was Miller.
Like,
it was Miller Lite Skechers. That's so cool. I'm gonna buy a pair, please. Skechers, if you're watching this,
I love it.
do me a favor.
Well, I actually don't like the shoes though. I've tried to like
they're
them.
so good.
No, they don't look well made to me.
I have 2 pairs.
And you're
3
saying
pairs
you like
actually.
them.
But
So
yeah,
you're giving a resounding endorsement for
100%.
Skechers.
100%.
They just look cheap.
I have 3 pairs of them.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up playing tennis. So, I mean, I've had like so many tennis shoes like in my closet growing up. Even now, I still have a lot of tennis shoes.
Yeah.
But the Skechers, no, they did something right with those.
Okay. We're getting off topic, so we'll bring it back in.
Yeah. Viewership.
We should talk about shoes at some point. That'd be a fun conversation.
Okay. We can do that.
Yeah. Because I'm always looking for good shoes, and I'm kind of stuck in one box there. So personalities within the game, and having a lot of fun is definitely what I think is going to bring the viewerships in. But I guess my final take, and I'll leave it to you to close it out, is that I think in the pro game, the power paddle is not an issue.
Yeah.
I think that for amateurs to just release these paddles out into the wild is an issue.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it takes down the ability to have fun with the game because it gets scary.
Yeah.
When people don't know what they're doing and
100%.
swinging as hard as they want with these crazy paddles. I don't want to play with those people.
Yeah.
I'm out.
So quick story about that, and then I'll jump back to the viewership too. But we were hosting an advanced beginner, keyword, advanced beginner round robin.
All right. It's like I know there's a word for that, but those 2 words don't work together.
Doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah. Advanced beginner.
Trying to make them feel good about themselves.
Exactly.
So buddy comes in, and he's just like, hey, I'm checking in for the advanced beginner round robin. He was like, do you have any paddles here that I can demo? He's like, by any chance do you guys have the Joola Mod? And he's around my age.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, we have it.
Yeah.
Like, we have it. So I gave him the paddle, and I had to sub in for one game. Someone had to leave early, and we got matched up in the last game. I'm just subbing in for this guy, so I'm playing with this one older woman. Again, advanced beginner open play, and he is just wailing on this poor woman.
Oh no.
Towards the end of the game, he drives the ball at her, she pops it up, and he slams an overhead at her. So we go to tap paddles. I'm like, come on, like read the room.
Yeah.
What do you want to hit that ball? Hit it at me. Like, I can take the heat, but don't hit it on poor Betty Joe. I was like,
he wanted to win.
What exactly? Like, read the room, man. What are you doing? Like, we know. Like, listen, you can have a blindfold on. You can beat this woman. Every day of the week. If you want to hit the ball hard, you can drive it at me. You can speed the ball up at me. Again, anything above the shoulder, by all means, hit it at me. I'm used to it. But not this poor woman. Like, I knew she was just miserable on the court. We got killed out there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like 5:15. I was just looking at this guy. I was like, "What?
You didn't try to take over the court. I would have tried to hurt him.
I couldn't.
I would have told Betty Joe. I would have said, "Hey, Betty, he's coming after you.
Right.
I'm gonna step over a couple of steps,
like,
and I'm gonna start taking all the thirds, and he won't hit the fifth back."
I couldn't believe it. I was like, have some common sense. Like after the first couple of points, I was like, okay, we get it.
Yeah,
we get it. She can't get the ball back.
Hey, but you're an accomplice.
Right.
You handed him that paddle.
Right.
You are part of it.
I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, I can't believe you did that. You sicko. You let this happen.
That's too good.
But back to the viewership thing. Like me personally, I think it's good for pickleball. As much as I hate it for the lower level, right? But I think it helps with, pickleball viewership. If you're the average recreational player that doesn't really watch pro pickleball, and you see them being, this athletic and this powerful and, what they're able to do, out on the court, I feel like it brings in, more fans.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Long dinking rallies, if you're not really a pickleball, fanatic, you don't really watch pickleball, and you turn on the TV and you're just watching J-Dub and Dylan Frazier go back to back with Ben and Colin.
Masterful dinking.
Exactly.
Masterful.
For us.
Yes.
Oh, it looks like art.
It does.
And it's like, oh, I love this strategy. This
like,
looks
wow.
phenomenal. Look at this.
Look how they're dinking middle.
It's like, yep, look at that. Yep, he's pinching middle. Look, that's a lot of space over there. No, but for us, yes, I get it. But for the average pickleball viewer, you don't want to see that.
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah,
they don't get it.
You want to watch Alshon and Kwong just go balls to the wall with the Gen 3 mod and just go crazy.
That's an entertaining duo. I would agree.
But that's what I think is going to get pickleball to the next level. Do I like it for the lower level? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But from a TV standpoint, what gets us hyped?
I think we're on the same page.
Right.
I do. I really think we're on the same page in that so there are different in every sport. Yeah. There are just different levels of equipment for the most part. You're not walking onto a golf course as a what did you call it? An advanced beginner with blades in your hand. All right. Because then it's just not gonna work. Right. You're walking out there with the biggest forged set of irons you can because you know you're gonna miss a lot. And
but you look at it from every sport. Like everyone wants to drive at 300 yards. Yes. Right. What driver is gonna get me on the green in one? Yeah. That's what I want to know.
It's 300 yards into the woods is what it is.
Same thing with basketball. We love watching fast breaks. We love people throw down windmill dunks, right? You can even say track too. We love the explosiveness of sports. And I think the same thing goes for pickleball. You give some of these pros with that ball striking ability, fast hands, and the entire package, you give them a mod, it's going to, fireworks. Yeah. I like it.
I agree.
Exactly.
I actually agree. And I think we'll leave it right there.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Whew. So this is where I want you to put your teaching cap on for me. And that, how do you win against these paddles? What are your strategies to get around these paddles? All right.
God.
So as an instructor, Ryan, as a guy who sees this every day, and again, let's talk about 4.0 and less, and then 5.0 and above. And you haven't made it to 4.5 yet, so I don't know if you can talk to the 5.0 and above guys.
That's where you can come in.
No, I haven't made it there either. Yeah. But I can speculate as to how they would do things. But how do you counter these power paddles when Betty Joe encounters that guy who's ripping it at her? And
Betty Joe's that is a terrible example. Okay. She just doesn't have the hand speed, brother.
Okay, so that's one fair point as to why we don't like it for lower levels. Let's imagine that she did. Let's imagine she could block and somewhat defend herself against the heavy drive. Right. What would you suggest to those players?
Shorten the backswing. You have to use their power against them. And I think the easiest thing that I can tell them is just, I would rather you just block it deep into the middle. You take away their ability to wind up for the ball. Now they have to take it immediately off the bounce. It's either that or another thing I would maybe suggest. This is a tad bit risky, but you make them, come up to the kitchen line. Okay. That's another thing. You hit, just dead volleys, just drop volleys into the kitchen line. You make them run up for the ball.
That's a tough shot.
I'm working on that shot. Yeah. It's very tough. Just loosen up the grip, keep the wrist very dead, and you just knock it down into the kitchen and see what they can do from the kitchen line.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's all about discipline, right? If it also depends. Does this person have topspin?
Yeah. Well, I would say if you're playing with the mod and keeping it in, or one of those paddles, you have to have topspin.
Exactly. Do they have topspin, or is it just, a completely flat shot? Because then again, it's just a discipline thing to just keep the paddle down and not touch anything above the shoulder.
Okay.
Because more than likely, if they're hitting it with that type of speed, with no spin, anything above the shoulder, that thing is long.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I like for the 4.0, I like your original take in that just block it.
Yeah.
Right. Know that it's coming.
Yeah.
If
exactly.
you've seen it a couple of times and it worked on you, I can guarantee it's coming again.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the easiest thing. Just block it deep down the middle. You get it to their feet and you take away their ability or their time to wind up for another swing.
Yeah. And then how you block it is you use your backhand to cover your body.
Exactly.
Because most of the time they're going to drive it right at your body.
Yep. You cover 75% of surface area. So now when you're covering it with the backhand, you're taking out all of the guessing.
Yep.
Do I take forehand? Do I take backhand? Just have your backhand ready to go. You can, I'm lefty. So if you're righty, you would just tilt it over like that.
That's right.
Exactly. And just have a backhand ready to go. You take out the whole guessing thing, the split second decisions, and you just have a backhand ready to go.
And know that if it's outside of your body, and it's low, you'll have to get to the low one by knocking things, by coming right. So you're here and you're like, I'm going to block. Oh, it's over here, but you can go down. You don't have to go up.
Yeah.
This is not a shot in pickleball, people. Especially if they're using a power paddle, because that ball's going out.
Exactly.
So just know if it's above here, even with the heaviest topspin, for the most part, there's a couple of guys I know that can hit topspin that it drops like 4 feet. It's unbelievable. But for the most part, it's going to go out.
Yeah. And then again, that comes back to the discipline, right? You have your paddle in a very stationary spot. Any opportunity for you to bring the paddle up, you just got to let it fly.
That's it.
Exactly. And if they tag the line a couple times, you give it to them. But if they're able to do that 11 times on serve over the course of an entire match, that's fine. I'll give that to you.
What's really cool too at the lower level, and it just like when you block it back, they're probably going to have to hit a 5th shot drop with the mod then. Or with that pot. I keep saying mod because I hate that paddle the most. But with any of those power paddles, I hate that one a lot too. And it's probably going to be high. And then at that point, you're just putting it away.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You drop something to them, they're putting their paddle down. It's almost like a seesaw effect. You see their paddle go down, that ball has to go up, right?
Yep.
So you start to raise your paddle up. And all you're doing at that point is you're just spiking it down.
Hit at their feet over and over again.
Again, easier said than done, right?
Agreed. But this is the strategy. And if you're getting beat by these guys, your first thought has to be, I'm going to block it backhand.
Yeah.
Right? Do one simple thing. And once you start getting those blocks back consistently, it makes them have to hit another shot.
Exactly.
Right? And in 4.0 pickleball, if you get to like 8 or 10 shots, you probably won the point.
Yeah. More than likely, like I said, they're not going to hit that drive 3 times consecutively.
That's true.
Make them hit it once. Okay, fine. Now, if they can do it 3 times in a row, all right, fine. I'll give that to you.
Yep.
More than likely, it's not going to happen. But most importantly is you have to be able to get that first block back.
That's right.
You have to, because otherwise now you're just giving them the confidence to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Well, and the other thing is you have to be disciplined. And I'm glad you brought discipline up to let the ball go. You have to be able to notice, okay, this guy has no top spin on the ball.
Exactly.
So anything above my belly button's going out, right? Because everything's flat and he's hitting it super hard. So being able to notice when the ball is going out, even if, and I would suggest this because it's just 1 point. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's hitting pretty consistently here, is it going in or out? Let one go by and find out.
Exactly. Just see. It's just 1 point, right?
Yeah, it's just 1 point. And then like, okay, I have to block all those.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm going to start moving and I'll win all the points.
So I actually did that at a tournament one time, but this guy was swinging with his entire body weight. So I told my partner, I was like, if he hits this forehand 11 times into the court, I don't mind losing to this guy.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I like it.
So whenever we saw him wind up for these forehands at the baseline, we just had our paddles out in front and just held it very tightly. I was like, we're not adding any sort of, power to it. We're just putting our paddle up. But again, it's the discipline portion. If we have to yank our paddle up, just let it fly by. We did that the entire match. Yeah.
I like
Not
it.
one forehand, found the court.
I like it. And that feels so good. Man, I was playing with Brad Barker last night, good friend, and I let a ball go from the back of the baseline.
Yeah.
And I told him, man, I said, that feels better than hitting a winner right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, learning to let a ball go.
It was to the point where it's just like I saw him winding up for forehands, and I was immediately telling myself, I'm not touching this.
Yeah.
The moment he hit it,
And we won
Right.
a pretty heavy match at PPA Raleigh with a guy like that. I mean, he started out with a gearbox. He was ripping the ball.
Yeah.
Switched over to a Paddletek, was ripping the ball. But all you had to do was move out of the way.
yeah, exactly.
He hit 1 out of 10 on the court.
In a game of pickleball where you're playing up to 11 points, you have to play high percentage points, right?
Yeah.
And that gets your opponent thinking too. You let one go by, now your opponent's like, okay, there's a little bit of discipline, right? He's not just going to touch every single ball I give him.
Yeah.
He will, he knows when these balls are going out. So now they're starting to think, and they might be a little bit more cautious about maybe hitting with that type of pace.
That's right. It changes that guy's game.
Yeah.
The guy who likes to drive has to hit a drop.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's in trouble.
And you know what's real crazy is when you let it go by and you don't even have to turn around to know it's out.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just do one of these and you just keep looking at them.
That's like next level Jedi
exactly.
stuff. Right?
I've done that a couple times. I don't even say anything.
Yeah.
I just immediately, switch sides and I get the ball because I already know it's out.
Yeah. It hit the guy goes, is it out? It's like it hit the fence.
Now you're in his head.
Yeah, exactly. You're good. All right. So that's the lower levels. And I think those are the two like main points for me is like learn to protect your body and punch it back to the center of court, as you said, which I think is really smart. Yeah. The other tendency, and I know I do this, is you play against better players and then all of a sudden you're trying to paint lines on the sides.
Don't do it.
No.
Play high percentage play.
Play middle of the court.
Exactly. Make them make a decision on who's getting it.
Look, if they beat me, I feel so much better about losing to them.
Yeah.
And what I mean by losing to them is like what I did at the PPA down there where I hit 7 returns out.
Yeah.
And you just give games away. That felt awful. I'd rather just lose.
You're right.
Because you're good.
Right. Exactly. If a better team beats me, that's fine. But if I'm over here just making stupid errors, it's going to be a silent car ride home.
Yeah. Dang right.
Exactly.
Dang right.
Yeah. But with what we said before, blocking down the middle, I say this to a lot of my students, when you start to get a little bit nervous, up the middle solves the riddle.
Always.
You're starting to make mistakes. Play it safe. Up the middle solves the riddle. Just get back into some sort of rhythm, get back some sort of confidence. Then we can start maybe, moving them around the court.
I like it.
Up the middle solves the riddle.
I like it. Your coaching tips this week with Brian Lopez.
Yep, that's all I got.
That'll be $5.99. So now let's talk about high level guys. All right. And this conversation gets super geeky, I think, because at the high level, you have so many different types of players. So you've got a power paddle in Christian Alshon's hand. All right. And Deckel Barr's hand. These guys are hitting it really, really hard. Now, I can't advise you as to what to do against a 6'5", 7'0". I would just say lay down on the court and die. You're not going to win.
Just get a white flag. Start waving it.
But I will say when I play 5-0s all the way up to 5'5", and the guy is ripping at me, typically what's happening then is the shake and bake. His partner is crashing, right? And so what I immediately think of, and this is one of the areas of my game that I'm working on the most.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say I'm an expert at this, but what pops in my head is I need to hit the ball. I need to counter behind the guy trying to crash.
Exactly. I mean, it's tough to do that in game.
Yes.
Because you're also paying attention to the guy that's driving the ball. Where is he going to go, right?
That's right.
Exactly. So maybe after the first, shake and bake, you start to, consciously think about it. But again, I start to think about that too. Whoever's hitting the third, I look at who's, starting to crash up in the kitchen, and then I start to pick my target immediately. Yeah. But then again, you only have a split second to think about that, though.
Well, and that's exactly right. And so when you get into 5-0 plus pickleball, you're dealing with so much strategy. Right. And so the first thought is, if this guy's ripping him, I'm going to try to block it behind him. That'll at least put the guy who's trying to crash off balance. Yeah. And possibly give me a shot that I can do something with. Yeah. Exactly. Right. The other thing is, if the guy is ripping and his partner is crashing, change up who's hitting the thirds. You know, at 5-0 plus, you're choosing who gets to hit the thirds.
Yeah.
You can push it into the corners and make sure that individuals hit it for the most part. So if one guy is really eating you alive, if they're hitting great drives or hitting great drops with lots of spin and roll, hit to the other guy and see how they do. I've won some matches that way because one guy's very comfortable in thirds, one guy likes to crash, but not vice versa.
You start to see that a lot too, you know, in mixed doubles. This is what I was like noticing a lot. But even for the pros, but they're forcing the guys to hit thirds and fifths.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping him at the back of the court for as many shots as possible and eliminating the mid-court threat.
That's exactly. If you had in mixed doubles, if you have an Anna Lee,
yes,
that
I was
can
just about to say
rip
that.
a backhand, right, and create that pop up or put them off, then you let Ben do what Ben likes to do, roam free and beat people up.
Like I was watching PPA Vegas this past, I think it was PPA Vegas, but it was a semifinal with Ben and Anna Lee. They were going up against Alshon and Etta Wright. That was a great semifinal. Went 3 games. But I think I counted, I think it was like 6 or 7 shake and bakes with Anna Lee and Ben in the first game versus 0 with Etta Wright. Yeah.
That's exactly. Well, there aren't many girls who can effectively shake and bake and mix. Right? The drives just aren't that powerful.
You see Ben taking that third. What's Anna Lee doing? She's immediately, you know, like prowling, just hunting in the transition zone.
Her ability to poach is unbelievable.
There's no other girl that's doing it like that.
No,
not with that consistency.
And if they tried, I don't know if they'd be as successful.
Right.
Just because she hits it so hard. I mean, there are a handful of girls who hit it really hard, but there's only one at AL.
Anna Lee hunting in the transition zone, like off her backhand, like that is a scary sight to see.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm telling you, like Etta Wright wasn't doing that.
No.
So they were like, again, we have no issues hitting thirds and fifths to Alshon because Etta Wright, like she's just not going to be a threat.
That's right.
You know, to do shake and bakes like that.
That's right. And as long as you can handle his drive, and sometimes he'll crash on his own, but you'll be good to go.
All right. And especially at that level, more than likely, it's fine. We can handle it.
So with power paddles, what other ways would you be able to play defense against them, or play strategically? And I'll tell you the other thing that pops into my mind is I'm not going to play their game.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll make them hit drops, or I'm sorry, I'll hit drops and make them dink with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because you can't make them hit a shot, but I can hit a shot that, as long as it's effective, causes them to not be able to attack.
Exactly.
All right.
So now we're just testing your control with the paddle. It's like, okay, I know you can swing with it.
Yep.
You know, but can you keep this ball low in the kitchen without me speeding this ball up at you?
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. Now, the con to all of that is these paddles are so poppy and powerful that if your drops aren't perfect, they're keeping you back. And you're noticing this in pro pickleball, where it's taking 6, 7, 8 drops to get into the kitchen with a couple of resets and counters in midcourt. Like, getting to the kitchen in pro pickleball is not easy. You and I would
do it every single time.
You and I wouldn't get close.
Just give me one. Just give me one.
Maybe 1 in 25 we would get there, right?
I think I can get one off my back end. I don't know.
Just a nice slice drop.
Exactly.
Get in there quick.
But I mean, like, I don't know how many what kind of strategies you can run other than getting them to play the soft game.
Yeah.
Right? Forcing them to get up to the kitchen line, you know, and just seeing what their control looks like. You know, are you going to pop it up? You know, can you dink with this thing?
Yeah. Which really comes down to my final point of the day, because I think that was well said, in that if you're going to be a high-level pro or player, meaning 5.5 plus, right, and you're not playing for fun and you want to be the best, unless the rules change next year, you've got to get a power paddle.
Yeah.
You've got to learn to play with them, even if it means you're sucking for 3 months while you can't reset, while you can't dink. Because the deal is, the guys that do learn to play with it have a strategic advantage. All right. They hit the ball harder with less effort. They have more spin, et cetera, et cetera. So if I'm a Zane who's playing with the Pro XR, which already is like one of the spinniest paddles out there, but not poppy, I'm going, all right, Pro XR, I need a little more oomph because I got to keep up with Alshon. I got to keep up with Ben, who's now playing with the 3S.
Yeah.
Right? So they're all moving towards the power paddles. And if you don't jump on the bandwagon, you're left behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
So.
it just takes out the whole control and finesse game that I've been trying to work on this past year. Come on, man.
But what's
going on here?
I don't know if I would say it takes it out. It just changes it.
It changes it, right?
Right. So you have the new term is a drive drop that all the pros are trying to hit, where it's a 60% drive with so much topspin that it drops into the kitchen. How sick is that shot?
No,
So you're popping it up. You have to short hop it, and it's
yeah,
gonna
exactly.
get popped
Immediately
up a ton.
right off the bounce.
Yep.
You know, now it's just up to you and your partner to read it and react to it, you know, really quickly.
Yeah, no, the pro game is getting stupid,
Exactly.
and I love it because you're right. Like TV wise, it's more entertaining to watch,
Right.
which is kind of cool.
You don't need to be a basketball fan to be entertained by basketball, right? You know?
I only like to watch the playoffs though in basketball because that's when they really care. The rest of the season, they're like,
it's okay.
yeah, another game.
I don't feel like playing today. I don't care that you paid $200 for this ticket.
Exactly right.
But yeah, no, I mean, again, if you're thinking about it from a viewership standpoint, like, unfortunately, I feel like this is the way to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like these companies understand that as well. You know, this is what the people want to see. How do we get, you know, people that aren't, you know, as obsessed like us to turn on Pickleball TV?
Yeah.
You know, and tune into what's going on this weekend.
That's exactly right. And
as long as you can get through all the commercials.
Dumbing the game down. The commercials that's another thing.
Worst.
I mean, why do pickleball commercials have to be so shitty?
It's the same thing.
They're
over
terrible.
and over and over again.
Oh, and they're all bad.
Right.
It's like, was there not a producer in that day, or did they get a producer from
Lazy.
Tijuana?
I'm tired of the dad dropping the basketball board on the driveway. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh my gosh, dude.
It's terrible.
I can't take any of the pickleball cocktail with Ben. I mean, all those old ones, they're so bad. Anyway, we digress.
I hate those commercials. I immediately get them. I'm like, yep, okay.
Yeah, dude. Well, if you've made it this far with us, we appreciate it. Like I said earlier in the pod, please please subscribe. We're a small channel. We're growing. We're out of Washington, D.C., and we hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, see you on the courts.
See ya.